Hey everybody, it's Knowledge. Today I'm going to be sharing my birth story. I'm very, very nervous, but I'm also really, really excited, and this is necessary. God placed it on my heart to write out my story and then to share it. As I was sharing with people, they were encouraging me to push it out and make it available for people to experience for themselves, and also to be like an encouragement for women to be able to advocate for themselves through pregnancy and in postpartum. So I hope that this story touches whoever it needs to touch. Um, for the sake of some of the events that happened during my birth, there are a couple of names that I am going to just designate 2 letters to protect their identity, just like keep discretion. But the story it's unfiltered, it's raw. I'm going to tell it all, and here we go. All right. So my water technically broke Sunday morning at 8:45, but I thought I just peed on myself a little. I also didn't think that my water had broken, just that I was super tired and needed to rest. I had been moving around a lot the last couple days, and my baby shower was just the previous day. I convinced myself that I just needed to sleep off the weird feeling that I was having. I even called my mom, and she agreed that I was probably just super tired. I also had never experienced contractions before, or cramps for that matter, so I just chucked it up to the Braxton Hicks, that thing. But around 6 p.m., I woke up and I was feeling so shitty. I didn't want to be in labor yet. It was a month early. I didn't have my pool or the mattress that I would lay on afterwards at Z's, and I still needed to confirm a midwife for the whole ordeal. Um, I had the appointment on Friday. I just had my doctor's appointment on Friday and confirmed that I would get a midwife in addition to the 3 doulas that I had. And then I had the baby shower, but now I'm in labor. There was literally no time to get my affairs in order, so I was really frustrated. I called my mom in tears, trying to complain, but I was really in pain. She and Dad were boarding the plane to leave Georgia. But once they saw my face, they knew that the process had started. They went to the counter to extend their flight, and then they made their way to come and meet me. My mom tells me that she'll call Josh's mom, and I decided to call Z. I get Mama Z on the phone, and I tell her that I'm in labor. I actually called Josh first and let him know what's happening. He's 30 minutes away and starts booking it home. Then I decide to take a shower to calm myself down, and that's when I call Z. She says that I'm probably in pre-labor because I can still talk through my contractions like I'm not really in labor. She says that she'll reach out to A, and then A calls me. A is one of my doulas. She also agrees that I'm going to her house to labor. Once I'm on the phone with A, telling her how I'm feeling and her listening to my contractions, Josh's mom bursts in screaming, saying, "We have to go to the hospital." And I say as calmly as possible that I'm not, and I'm going to Z's. She's not having it, and she has my mom on the phone while she's yelling. A hears all of this, and she sees that there's like a bit of opposition with the decision that needs to be made. Her main thing is keeping me calm, and that's my goal too. Eventually, Josh's mom goes downstairs because I tuned her out at that point. Josh gets home as I finish showering. He wants to go to the hospital, but I want to go to Z's, so we just start packing a baby bag. Pillows, herbs, incense, socks, and I really can't remember anything else. And I'm not sure that there was much else. Oh, my portable speaker and chargers. Josh also packs the car seat into the car along with my pregnancy ball. We pack into the rental Mustang because Josh had totaled the car a few days prior and head to the city. On the way to Z's house, the contractions keep getting worse consistently, but I'm making light of it because I can't really believe that I'm in labor. Like, what the fuck? I even wrote a journal entry on the way there. Josh was speeding with the hazards on, and I know that he was having fun on top of all the nerves that he was feeling, because we had this thing, like whenever we see someone speeding in Atlanta, we're like, the wife's probably in labor and they're just on their way to the hospital. So it was cool to be in that. Once we get to Z's house, my parents are already there. It took me a really long time to get upstairs because the contractions were really bad at this point. Z had prepared a room for me upstairs, and my parents and Josh went to set it up with my things while I went to the bathroom. The room was really nice. There was a dim orange light. The wall had a beautiful black and white city scenery. My rosemary oil was in the diffuser, and my pillows and blankets were on the floor bed. As I'm getting settled, A comes in and takes a look at me. She says that I'm doing well and to call her when things get more serious. After that, Z comes in and asks if we're going to have the baby at the house and how we're going to stay in integrity. My mom, and everyone else but me, really, wants to go to the hospital, but I don't want to. I don't want to. Josh says that this isn't what we discussed. My mom says it's not safe because it's, a month early. A and Z want me to have the final say, and I trust that A can deliver the baby, so I'm as firm as I can be in that. She doesn't have certifications in being a doula or midwifery to show that she's legit, but I trust the feeling. We go back and forth for a while. Z even says to my mom, she's going to blame and resent you if you force her to go to the hospital. To which my mom responds, as long as her and the baby are safe, she can hate me for as long as she wants to. When my mom sees that I'm not budging, though, she steps out and she calls my grandpa for guidance. He tells her that she's the midwife that they're looking for and to clock in. So they pray, and then she comes back in and she says, okay. Then Z starts asking about payment for A being the doula, which is strange because A never mentioned anything about that, and I expected her to advocate for herself, being an advocate for women in this way. So we asked her to come back in and asked her what she needed from us. She said she didn't need anything and to keep timing the contractions and to let her know when they got closer together consistently. She leaves. Z comes back in and says, what are we going to do? PayPal or Cash App or what? And at that point, the energy is weird. So when A comes back in, we straight up ask her how much money she wants. She says all the work that she's done up to this point is worth $250. So my mom immediately sends her that on Cash App. Apparently, she pulled Josh to the side and got another $100-something from him. Then she sent Josh and my dad to the store with a laundry list full of items needed for the delivery. Items that she should have already had, in my opinion, but I'm so out of it that I'm not really thinking clearly. She also asked for the birth plan. I pull it up on my phone and I send a copy to Josh. I'm not sure if it was supposed to be printed out, but it was definitely present. There were 2 other doulas on that plan that were not reached out to, and everyone's role for the experience was explicitly stated, from massaging to keeping the playlist flowing to praying to breathing to telling me funny stories to distract me. I just want to say that these things did not happen. The plan was not executed, but we'll just keep going. I spent the night into the morning with my sleeping family. My dad, mom, and my husband all snore loudly. I just rolled around through contractions all night that were like 3 minutes apart. A told me to sleep between contractions, which was literally impossible. I went back and forth between the bed and the bathroom, feeling everything and nothing. Sometimes when Josh was awake, he would come into the bathroom with me. I could tell he was upset with me because he felt distant. When the contractions were getting closer together, I told him that I wanted to have the baby at the house. He thought that we would labor at the house and then go to the hospital, but I told him to trust me because I trusted the doula. He said, what about the midwife? I told him that she is a midwife, and we had no time to try and find another one. By the way, this whole situation was completely illegal with both of my moms being nurses. We were like walking a really, really fine line here. But Josh finally let go, and he said that he'd support me through whatever decision I made. I asked him if we would be good after this ordeal was over because I didn't want to be set in my ways wanting to control the situation only to lose him in the end. He promised me that he wasn't going anywhere, and that brought me a lot of peace. A would pop in and out throughout the night, listening through a contraction or two and checking my stomach. Every time she would say that I'm right on track to where we're going. I want to take a second and attempt to explain contractions. They felt like a gas bubble that I just couldn't pass. As time went on, though, the bubble turned into wave after wave of pain, like an uncontrollable force that moved through my body. I started off just breathing through them and then moaning, and by the time we got to the morning, I was straight up yelling. My only piece was lying completely still in a sort of child's position with my face turned to the left side. Anytime I moved just a tiny bit, like a smidget, it triggered another contraction. The pain isn't anything that I can compare to this dimension, and I definitely feel as though I was channeling energy that was bigger and deeper than myself. What I felt was literally out of this world. My best friend popped her head in the bathroom once during the whole process. She was tired from her weekend activities and didn't have the capacity to show up for me, but there's more on that later. So now it's morning. I have been up a full 24 hours being turned every which way but loose. Shania had come in at some point during the night and sat with me and brought me cashews and fruit. Z had brought me some tea around that time too. Z and I had a very special relationship up until this point. I had a dream about her in December of 2021, and then I met her in December of 2022. So this coming together was fated. I considered her my spirit mother. Around my birthday in 2023, November, I started spending intentional time with her once or twice a week. During this time, I would share with her about my journey with God, about how I commune with nature, about all of my intuitive practices, and she would share her wisdom with me about her background in spirituality, about how to read cards and work with the power of nature to receive answers. She even gifted me a hoodoo tarot deck. Our relationship blossomed and then took a pause when I went to New Orleans for a ceremony in February of 2024. She didn't understand why I was seeking counsel from any other spiritual person when she herself was a high priestess, but she still sort of supported my decision to go. I go when I feel called, so that's just my truth. Now, this trip led to my condo burning down a few weeks later with a candle that I had gotten from the Botanica there. And so I felt a little guilty, and so I stopped our weekly sessions. We picked back up in June in the form of marriage counseling. Josh and I hadn't been seeing eye to eye, and we were in need of some serious help, like super serious, like the brink of the relationship serious. And I also had just found out that I was pregnant, and so we had some big decisions to make about how we were going to move forward. We counseled with her for 3 months and completely transformed our dynamic. Z is a phenomenal coach. I will never take that away from her. But things started to get strange after the coaching ended when she suggested that it continue. Stay with me because I'm telling you all this for a reason. Josh decided to do individual coaching with someone else, and Z didn't want to do our coaching simultaneously because she thought that the doctrines would clash, when in reality, I believe she just wanted to be the only influence. I decided to start back up with just visiting her. A little before then, probably the end of July, beginning of August, I discovered while reading an old journal of mine the dream that I had about her. I shared the dream with her, and then 2 weeks later, I had another dream with her in it. This second dream was an indicator to her that I was supposed to be her first initiate. I was honored. She had to do some work with her previous spiritual house and then establish her own house before she could initiate me. So she got to work and she asked me to hold her accountable once a week with a check-in. Only a few weeks in, she started becoming irritated with me asking about her progress, and I had to remind her that she had asked for an accountability partner in me. She remembered and then apologized, but I stopped checking in with her about it, and she still hasn't started her house yet. Another strange thing was that she told me Spirit showed me as her first initiate. Yet every time we talked about it, she said I was too eager or not real enough, or that I wouldn't take it seriously because I think that this is a game, all while disapproving of me being around other spiritual beings and gatekeeping information from me. We went on about this topic for months, about how I'm standing in the way of my own initiation. So imagine my surprise and relief when she whispers in my ear during one of my biggest contractions, "This is your initiation." And she said a prayer and she bowed her head to the ground. My focus shifted to her and how I could prove myself worthy to her by having this baby naturally at her house. I realized after the whole ordeal how energetically and emotionally manipulative that was, and how that's also not at all the way to initiate someone. My birthing experience should have been exclusively about me and Billy Rose, and now I was willing to risk my life and hers just to be accepted in Z's eyes. A comes in a little after that, and my mom starts to ask about how to monitor the baby's heart rate. She doesn't have a fetal monitor or even a stethoscope or a blood pressure cup for me, and sends my dad on another wild goose chase to try and find those items. He looks for hours but can't find anything. A is able to find something from a woman that's 40 minutes away, and my aunt, who happens to live in that area, gets it and brings it to us. When she monitors and checks me, she says that the rate that I'm laboring at and the pain that I'm experiencing concerns her, and she thinks we should go to the hospital. A huge slap in the face to everyone, because she said she could deliver this baby no problem. So now the hospital is necessary. And she also hadn't checked my cervix once the entire time that I labored at the house. Either way, we start preparing and then leave for the hospital. I ask if the doula can come with us. She pulls Josh aside and tells him that it's going to be $1,000 if she comes to the hospital. And because he was desperate for his wife and his child to survive, he agrees. We get to the hospital and miss the emergency entrance, so we go straight to the front, and our moms run inside and run back out with a wheelchair. I'm hollering the whole time. They take us to the 3rd floor where labor and delivery is, and I say who my doctor is. They need my ID, but Josh left my purse in the car, so he has to run back to the parking deck. They tell me that only one person can go with me into the triage room, so I choose Josh. While we're waiting for him to come back, though, I'm screaming so loud that they decide to take me into the back room anyways, and I hear him run in as I'm going through the doors. When we get into the room, I immediately go to the toilet. The toilet was my best friend through this entire process. They hand me a gown and ask me to get on the bed. I ask for Josh, and they say that he can't come back yet, so I get upset because I'm feeling like they lied to me. I keep asking for him, and they say that they have to ask me certain questions first, like, do I feel safe at home and with him? I answer, hoping they'll bring him in now, but then the nurse insists on checking my cervix, and then she just does, just goes in. I'm 8.5 centimeters dilated, so they decide to move me to the delivery room, but still no Josh. Now I'm pissed, and I'm crying angry tears because I'm in too much pain to run away at this point, and I feel trapped. Once in the next room, they say that I can let 3 people in, so that's easy. Josh, my mom, and the doula. They finally come in once I'm back on the toilet. A checks in with me, and she tells me that it's completely fine to have the baby on the toilet, which makes me laugh. There's a birthing bar that we talk about using, and she says if I lay on my side, I have to have the medicine ball between my legs. Every time a contraction comes while I'm on the bed, I have to roll over on all fours and turn to my left side to get through it. My delivery doctor comes in soon after and checks my cervix again. I'm indeed 8.5 centimeters, but my cervix is swollen at this point. Her name is Dr. Freeman, and my OB, her name was Dr. Youngblood. So I had Dr. Youngblood up to the point, and then Freeman is delivering my baby. I thought that was kind of cool. She's asking me questions during a big contraction, and it's super hard to concentrate on anything she's saying. Unfortunately, I'm pretty sure that she takes offense to my lack of focus and catches an attitude so bad that everyone in the room notices. She leaves for me to get more dilated, and Josh immediately wants us to get a new doctor. My mom, even though she understands, mentions that because it's nighttime, she's probably the only delivery doctor available. I tell everyone that I'm just going to level with her. So when she comes back in, I do my best to look her right in the eyes. I ask her if she's okay, and she says she is. Why? I answer that she seems distant or preoccupied and that she's not looking at me. And she says, when I was looking at you, asking you questions, you weren't looking at me, so I don't understand why I need to look at you. Ooh. I could tell everyone in the room was holding their breath, and for a second, I was too. So I knew I had to meet her where she was. I apologized and explained to her that I was in the middle of a contraction. I told her that I wanted to do anything possible to get us on the same page, and that we're all excited and anxious and grateful for her being here. I could see the ice melting off of her, and she softened, and she checked my cervix again. Dr. Freeman said that she would have to lift up my cervix in order for me to push the baby underneath. So she had to like stick her fingers inside and lift up, and I push under. I'm not even registering that she's really saying that it's time to push. I'm also on my back at this point, and I didn't want to give birth that way. So I figured somehow I'd do some pushing here, and then I'd do the real thing later. This is another point that I expected the doula to speak on my behalf, but she said nothing. So I reared back my legs while my mom and Josh grabbed my feet, and we waited for the next contraction to come. I was bearing down, which is different than pushing. It's more like channeling the energy down. We tried 2 or 3 contractions, and then she said that her hand hurted, and so she needed to take a break. She also needed to check in another patient, so she left out for a little while. I am reeling in pain. I'm pretty sure that I pooped on Dr. Freeman a few times. I'm reaching my wit's end, and I say to everyone that I'm going to try one more time to push, and then I may have to get an epidural. When the doctor comes back in, maybe 20 minutes later, I push 3 more times. Then while we're preparing to push a 4th time, I call it. My mind is so gone, and my body has been in consistent, excruciating pain for almost 2 days now. I need some sort of relief. I tell her I'd like an epidural, and she and the nurses reach out to the anesthesiologist. So for anyone who doesn't know what an epidural is, the doctor gives you a shot full of fentanyl in the base of your spine. And you have to be extremely still during the procedure, which is damn near impossible when you are going through consistent contractions. But you have to be still or you could get paralyzed. Paralyzed. I feel them stick me right as another contraction comes, and it takes everything in me not to move. My legs go semi-numb, and I feel them pumping medicine through the needle with the strangest like clicking feeling that I can still feel it now if I think about it hard enough. My mom is the only one in the room other than the epidural folks, and she's very encouraging. Once the procedure is done about 15 minutes later, I do start to feel relief for a bit. The doctor and Josh's mom, and my dad come back into the room. We try to push again, and I feel like I'm doing a good job. They even tell me that they can see her head, but she doesn't come out. Even crazier is now that my contractions are too far apart and not intense enough to push her out. Now my contractions are too far apart and not intense enough to push her out vaginally. So they say that I should take Pitocin, which would make them quicker and more intense. And I don't really want any more medicine than the epidural, but I'm considering. But then the pain of my contractions start coming back, almost as intense as I remember them. What is the point in taking the most powerful drug if I'm still going to feel the pain? So I ask for more. I say the only way I'll take the Pitocin is if they also give me more anesthesia. So the other nurse comes back in and pumps my spine, and then they put the Pitocin in my IV. Now, I really don't feel nothing, which I'm pretty sure I tell my mom is like the greatest reward for not drinking for my whole pregnancy. However, since I'm not feeling anything, I can't really bear down during the contractions that I don't feel. A keeps telling me that I'm out of it and I need to focus and that this isn't what we came to the hospital for. She also pulls Josh outside and tells him that he needs to get me together. But of course he does not do that. He just comes in and sits with me and just holds my hand. This is the fun part. Because of all the anesthesia, fentanyl, and Pitocin in my system, my blood pressure starts to go crazy and they need to give me something to stabilize it. But that medicine causes the baby's heart rate to dip way too low to get a reading, so they give me more medicine to stabilize that. And I've done research on this particular medicine cocktail, and I get the feeling that they're about to tell me that I need a C-section. Sure enough, a few minutes later, the doctor comes in and says both of our conditions have gotten too critical and they need to take her out. Despite having the best high I've ever experienced, I feel so defeated when I say yes to the surgery. I consider just letting go completely. As long as the baby comes through safely, they didn't really need me. I had been laboring for almost 2 days, 44 hours, and was exhausted past the point of reconciliation. I thought she would have family to look after her, and so she didn't really need me. And on top of all of my heartbreak, A comes up to me and asks how I'm feeling, and I say that I'm disappointed, and she says, "Me too." So they tell me only one person can come for the surgery, so I choose Josh, and they wheel me into this super bright, white, cold room. Anthony is the one that's pushing me, and I ask him why all the operating rooms on TV are dark. And he laughs and says, well, that's TV. And I remember thinking how weird that was, because TV is supposed to tell a vision about what's going on in real life, and that's a really big, weird contrast to display. I ask where Josh is, and they say that he's coming. Anthony starts trying to put an IV in. This is where I can sort of possibly try to understand those sayings that Black women are stronger than usual, or that we can tolerate more pain. Because I watched helplessly as Anthony and other nurses attempted to stick me up and down both of my arms 10 times. And every time they stuck the needle in me, it broke. I'm not kidding. Maybe it was the adrenaline. Maybe I turned into Incredible Hulk. On the 10th stick, someone yells from behind the curtain that they got a stick in my foot. And I didn't even feel anything through all the madness. While this is happening, they're also pumping me with lidocaine and doing the prick test to see if I can feel anything below my chest. They tap my shoulder and my hip, and when I tell them that I can feel both, they give me more. Then they tap again, and they ask if I felt it. And I say yes, but they just tell me that I'm feeling pressure, and they give the go-ahead to start the surgery. And Josh still hasn't come in yet. So I didn't feel the sharpness of the blade going across my abdomen, but I felt her pull my stomach back. I felt her move my organs around. I felt her pull Billy Rose out. And I felt her sewing me back up. Yeah. Whole time I was telling them that I felt it. And the whole time they were saying that it's just pressure. I've never felt such a painful pressure in my life. Somewhere in all that craziness, Josh appeared. I eventually heard the baby cry. I was in between worlds because I was telling the most complicated and intricate story to someone in a park, but my mouth was closed and I was lying open on an operating table. I didn't realize that I had survived until they were pushing me into the recovery room. Josh was there, and so was this little creature that he said was my baby. I was still so out of it and so high, plus I had the shakes. I thought I was just freezing, but I found out later that the shakes were from all the drugs that were in my system. But I was shaking so bad that I didn't want to hold her at first. She was crying, and I didn't want to make it worse. But when she was put in my arms, I'm pretty sure she just thought I was a massage chair because she fell right asleep. This human being belongs to me, came out of me. What the fuck? Josh takes her from me as a nurse walks in and asks about the vitamin K shot and eye ointment. They've already done the heel prick for glucose, which is against my birth plan. All three of those options were something that I opted out of, and my doula was supposed to advocate for these things on my behalf. The nurse explains why the vitamin K shot is so important, blood clotting, with a premature baby, and then gives us a minute to decide. Josh says that he thinks we should do it, and I say no. He asks why, and I say that I can't remember exactly, but A said it wasn't necessary. I also say that I remember her and my mom having a conversation about the shot, so he should switch out with my mom, since there could only be one person in the recovery room with me and Billy Rose, so she can tell the nurse why I don't want the shot. He leaves, and then his mom comes in. Wrong mom. Then the nurse comes back in, and I tell her I still haven't made the decision yet. She says we can't leave the room until we make a decision, and stresses again how important the shot is. I ask his mom if she can switch out with my mom because I have to ask her about this shot. My mom walks in and immediately starts crying and praying over me and Billy Rose and kissing and holding her. I ask her about the conversation she had with A about the shot. She says A told her the baby didn't need it, but didn't say why or give an alternative treatment. I thought that was odd, but I was still solution-oriented. The nurse came back, and I said I still needed a few minutes. I asked my mom if she can switch out with A so she can directly speak with the nurse. My mom lets me know that she left before my surgery happened. She went home. Then the nurse comes in again. I don't have any reason or support against this shot, and it sounds like she truly does need it, so I concede. I tell them no for the eye ointment, though. They roll me and baby into the mother-baby unit while my dad follows. He switched out with my mom. While I process the fact that not only did my doula say she was disappointed in me, but she also left during the most critical time while my life was literally hanging in the balance. What did this lady do to deserve $1,000? Why did I trust her so fully? against my own family, only to be deserted when I needed her the most. I can only think about this for so long before I realize that I have a whole human that I'm now responsible for. In the room, the first nurse comes in and asks if I've done skin to skin. I hadn't. So she places a baby on my chest and we bond for the first time. I can't even describe the feelings that surged between the two of us. Otherworldly. Then a lactation specialist came in and she asked if I had fed her yet. I hadn't. We tried to latch on and I don't think it worked. I could express milk, but I couldn't get her to latch on. That's when I learned about donor milk. There was an alternative to formula while I figured out my milk production. I never even imagined mothers donating their milk to help in times like this. How beautiful. So they brought in about 20 milliliters. They tell me that she needs to feed every 3 hours until she makes it to term. So for about a month, because she was born on the 21st, but she wasn't due until February 17th of the next month. Then this lady comes in with a tray of food and tells me to make sure I call to put my order in for every meal. They continued to bring me breakfast, lunch, and dinner every day until I was discharged Friday afternoon, and it's Tuesday morning, okay? Another nurse comes in and goes over all my paperwork, the baby's birth certificate, information for her pediatrician, medicine and lactation information, numbers to call if postpartum got too heavy. That part was a system overload. Then another nurse comes in and tested the baby's glucose levels. They were too low, so she had to give Billy extra glucose with each feeding, and she had to be consistently over a certain level before she was able to come home with us. They also tested the baby for jaundice, and she did have it, but then she didn't. They had to monitor that, and if she had jaundice, by the time it was time to leave, she could not leave with us. But she ended up being good for that. Then another lactation specialist comes in to go over different feeding techniques and make sure I'm using the pump machine right. She says I need to be giving her at least 30 milliliters per feeding of my own milk in order for her to leave with us. At this moment, I can only produce 10 milliliters, and I needed the donor milk every time. I eventually pumped 60 milliliters at each feeding by the time we left. Every other nurse comes in and checks my incision and presses down on my abdomen, which is so freaking painful, to make sure that my organs were moving back into place. These nurses were usually followed by a nurse who would bring me Tylenol and a Percocet, or Oxy. Another nurse, well, multiple, would come in and measure the amount of blood in my urine. I had to make myself pee every few hours because they had put a catheter in me, and so my sense of urgency was gone. And my poop didn't come until 2 days later. And it would really hurt whenever I forgot to pee, and I wouldn't understand why I was in so much pain until I remembered, oh yeah, girl, pee. And my bladder would be full every time, too. We had to be away from Billy Rose for a whole hour and a half for a car seat test. They wanted to make sure that we knew how to safely secure her in it, but I think it was really just a psychological test to see how long we could stay away from her, because they went 10 minutes over, and I literally marched up to the desk and got her back. Speaking of walking, they encouraged me to walk around the perimeter of the mother-baby unit. They called it 285. The first time I walked, I was so slow and in so much pain. Breathing was hard enough, let alone moving. But each time I went, it got easier and I got faster. My parents were there for a time before they went back to Maryland. Josh was by my side the whole time. Shania came to be with us twice, and Josh's mother came and helped me shower, which was one of the sweetest moments that I've ever experienced. When I think about this experience and all of the details that went into my care, I can't help but to be extremely grateful for family, for lessons, for intervention, for insurance, for dedication, for care. My baby girl made it here, and she's healthy and beautiful. I wouldn't trade any part of it, and there's still so much that I missed. I thank God for planting the seed in me to write this out and to share it. I pray and bless that it will reach and touch the right people and soften hearts everywhere. The transition into motherhood is a beautifully daunting and sacred threshold. And that's my story, y'all. That's my story. I'm really grateful for the experience. I went through some shit. I learned a whole lot. And it didn't discourage me from having more children because I survived. I didn't even think that I would survive. You know what I'm saying? So I am excited to be a mother. I am excited to have the knowledge and the experience of labor and delivery. I am an advocate for women everywhere. If you need help, I'm going to get my certifications in becoming a doula. Like, I'm going to help usher in new lives safely, securely, and with the mothers feeling at peace. And I hope that this story, this experience, did something for you, even if it was just to be with me in my experience. I thank you for being here with me. I love you all. I'm a mother. All right, talk soon.